Back in case you're just joining us, it's Moneyline with Nancy. My guest is with me right now, Johnson Chukwu, who is the chief exec at Cowry Assets Management. Mr. Chukwu, welcome and thanks for joining us on the show.
The pleasure is mine.
How are you today?
I'm cool, and you?
I'm cool too. But just that the kind of stories we're hearing in Nigeria, sometimes, you know, you just feel, are we actually in a country, or is the country is just a joke? You know, talk to me about what I just said, or what you understand by what I've just said. Or should I expatiate further?
Maybe you need to explain
the issue of the snake swallowing 36 million naira.
I think...
and so people are actually debating that, oh, there was really a snake that came to, you know,
office.
Yes, two sides of two sides of the coin. Some people actually think that there was really a snake that came to swallow the 36 million naira. Some like, of course, it's a corrupt practice. The person did not know what to say and all of it. Which side of the divide are you at? And taking all this into perspective, is this something we should be hearing at this point in time?
Well, it depends on the development of the individuals involved and the level of their mind development, or the level they've developed their mind. You see, basically, Nigeria is still a largely superstitious environment. That's the only reason anybody can believe a snake will swallow 36 million. It has to be in the realms of superstition that something has turned to a snake and the snake swallowed 36 million. The first question you ask yourself is that, what size of snake will swallow 36 million? It has to be a very massive python. And how did the python get to the office? Where do we still have such huge python? It has to be a foreign reserve that you can see such a python in this country, or a zoo, and I'm not even sure of any zoo in Nigeria where you have a python of that size. So the key thing is it's only somebody who is superstitious that will believe that a snake has swallowed 36 million. For me, if I was the one involved in this case, I will hold the relevant officers responsible, and they have to produce that money. As far as I'm concerned, there was no snake anywhere, and no money was swallowed.
There was no snake anywhere and no money was swallowed. You know, this issue of superstition, because it seems some people believe that it's true, a snake was sent there or to retrieve. You know, since this story actually broke out, I said it yesterday on the show while I was speaking with my guest, that I actually thought it was what Donald Trump now calls fake news. You know, thanks to Donald Trump, he made that very popular. I actually thought it was fake news. And it's actually a joke, but what came out from Jamb, I think yesterday, was that the person has been suspended. What should be done at this point? Because when people are actually reading the stories, even abroad, or watching us, do they take us seriously?
You know, that's why I said that we are still largely a superstitious society. For me, it's very simple. Any criminal can give any alibi to extricate him or herself from the culpability in a criminal offense or in a malfeasance. It is left for whether it's still at the point of administrative issues or it has gone to the legal case. But at the administrative level where it is left for the management of Jamb to even consider such careless and flippant statement. And this is Jamb that has been like in the positive light for to say that getting money. In the first place, if money is lost and the custodian of that money is claiming that the snake came and swallowed it, if I were the supervisor of that person, it won't even feature at all. I will hold you responsible and make sure you produce that money, because no snake came. And produce the snake. Yeah, no snake came anywhere and no money was swallowed. For me, you will produce yourself, produce the snake. For me, it's and produce the money. You just have to produce that money. That's for me, the bottom line, you have to produce that money. No money was lost. The money that was in your custody, you just have to produce it. But the question is, how come that kind of amount is even in the custody of someone, 36 million naira, doing what exactly? Well, you know, they've not come up to say that the person who the money was in his or her custody was not supposed to have that amount of money. I wouldn't know what the money was meant for. But I thought we have implemented a TSA, and even at that, we have largely gone cashless. So the need to have 36 million in cash, because I know for those who buy Jamb forms and pay for other Jamb activities, do it online. So Maybe the money was withdrawn for a purpose. I wouldn't know why. And I know it's almost impossible, difficult to withdraw 36 million naira cash today. So I don't know how
even if you withdraw, you pay
where the money, how the money came about, and why the money was in somebody's custody, and why the money was not in a safe, and why anybody will accept the explanation and come to the public to tell the public that a snake swallowed 36 million. Anyway, let's talk about more serious issues.
Is this not serious enough? How about the issue of the rats? The president was not able to stay in Aso Rock because of rats. You know, they are all, you know, when you read this kind of stories, you actually do not want to believe that it's actually, it's happening, you know. Just like you said, let's move over to serious issues.
Yes, because, you know, basically what some of, like I said, the key thing about life is that people are operating at different wavelengths in terms of mental capacity, in terms of their
is that enough excuse?
In terms of their
because
priorities.
These are people that are piloting affairs. These are people that are leaders. For example, rats chasing the president away from the office. This is the president of a nation. We're still recovering from that. Then we're getting to hear that a snake is swallowing 36 million naira. I don't know if it has eaten it up or is digested. Or
you know, let me tell you, the duty, the two of people like us, or this society, is to elevate the discussion beyond these pedestal levels. What we should avoid is a situation where those who have refused to develop their mind will drag the entire society, entire country to that banal level where we're discussing things like, I mean, how do you take explanation that from your subordinate the snake came to the office, swallowed 36 million?
So what should we do? Because you just said a very salient point that people like you and I, it's our responsibility to get the conversation on a serious note.
Okay.
That means those perhaps in leadership are not serious enough, and those in leadership are not those that should be leading us. Yes, yes, that is it. And we can infer that's from what you're saying. Because if people like us, like you say, have a higher mental capacity, then the kind of people leading us should be questioned. Then we ourselves should be questioned.
Well, that's why I say we need to change the narratives. We need to drive to change the narratives. Like this issue of snake swallowing money. Ideally, what should happen next is that the culpable officer should be arrested, his or her direct supervisor should be arrested, and then if they are unable to produce that money, they should be prosecuted and sent to jail. There is nothing like a snake coming anywhere. And if the society, if the agitation now, if this general discussion in this in the media is get these guys arrested, get them to produce that money, get them prosecuted, we will move away from the snake swallowing money. And we will move to the point where we're discussing malfeasance, fraud, corruption, and appropriate punishment, such that no other person will come out in the near future and tell us that a bat has turned to a goat.
Perhaps there was precedent because rats did not allow president do his work in Aso Rock for a while. So the example has been set to now say snake came out to swallow 36 million. Is that actually hot weather? So snake was looking for where was cool. So perhaps the Jamb office was cool for the snake.
And the snake walked through the streets.
And nobody saw.
And nobody saw it. Came into the office, walked into, crawled into the office, got access to where the money was, swallowed it, and vanished into thin air. And that's what they're telling us. And they want us to begin to debate that instead of asking the right minister, the appropriate minister in charge of supervising Jamb, to get the board of Jamb. Unfortunately, the board of Jamb is not in place. Yeah. So those are some of the failings we have in the society. Because today, the members of the board of Jamb were appointed sometime last year. They've not been inaugurated. So they certainly know supervising board.
Not just even Jamb. CBN has no board right now. CBN has no deputy governors, at least, that have been approved. That's a lot of issues that
that's why I said we should elevate the discussion to the point where we are identifying the challenges the society has and bringing this to the fore of the policymakers so that we begin to address it. And when they fail to address it, our voices will be strong enough, stringent enough, as to draw the attention into to act on those things.
What issues worries you most now? What is your most worrying issue?
What worries me most is that today, it looks like the society has moved into a politically frenzy system or situation. Ordinarily, if you look at the newspapers today, 99% of the things you see in the papers are all about politics. Nobody's talking about the economy. Nobody's talking about policy issues. And basically what we're doing now, previously we said, look, the last year of a civilian administration is always committed to politics, but we're seeing 2 years of the 2 years preceding the election as being committed to political activities. And that does not bode well for this economy. It doesn't allow for policy implementation, policy formulation. Everything we are now doing are going to be overridden by political interests, political calculations, permutations, and the effect of this will manifest in the economy, because the economy is not going to grow at the rate it should grow. The key decisions we need to take, difficult decisions we need to take to position the economy for an enduring growth will not be taken. And then we're going to lose 2 years of our 4 years political cycle, all because a few things were not done right, because people are imagining, let's leave that.
No, go ahead.
People are imagining that the president may not run.
Is it people are imagining that he will run or he will run?
Or they have been, one can say there have been some vacuum in the political administration of the country that has triggered a lot of interest of different people, of different interest groups, to try to fill that space. And I think that's the core of it. I think we have to put it squarely on the table of the president. A number of things have not been done. And because those things were not done, people see a wide chance in governance. And that has triggered several people to begin to imagine that they could go in and occupy the highest seat of governance.
But it's not a sin and it's not bad.
It's not a sin. Because I'm just saying it's coming too early in the life
of the administration.
Of the administration. It's coming too early. But last year, we already had moved into a political mode. That should ordinarily have occurred towards the end of this year. And that's where my challenge is. Today, look at the national budget. It's not been approved. We don't even know what the status is today. Today, what were the major features we are seeing in the papers are the order of the election. The order of the election is purely a kind of political calculations designed to make sure that certain political groups are not disfavored in the election calculations. So that is going to take a lot of attention of the government, because each of these arms of government is interested in how the election or electoral order will affect their chances. Ordinarily, that shouldn't be a major consideration today.
So where does it leave the leadership question? Because just like you said, you've seen a lot of people trying to, or at least a lot of activities, though a bit on the lower ebb right now. We've not seen them even coming out. A lot of people having ambition, be it presidential or whatever ambition, thinking that this administration is not doing a good job, so they can come into that position, just like you said. Doesn't that question the kind of leadership that we do have in Nigeria? Because leadership has a lot to do in terms of every facet of the life of this nation.
It's not just a life of the nation. The fact is that leadership defines culture. Leadership defines value system. Leadership defines the direction of the society or the group. And leadership energizes the society to achieve that vision. So leadership is at the epicenter of socio-economic development of any group or society. So the key things we need to do as a country is that we need to redefine our leadership selection process. We've not done that. We've not gotten that right.
How about the election? The election is not the... Or are you talking in terms of getting people in the parties?
Yes, getting the system, getting the system to throw up the very best that society has. If you cast your mind back from what we read in the books, during the First Republic, if you go to northern part of the country, northern Nigeria, you saw the leadership selection process, it was defined. The Sultan refused to go to the center and nominated a very competent person to go to the center who became the first prime minister. If you have ever had time to read or listen to the speech of late Tafawa Balewa that he made in the 60s,
Yes.
we have not produced any other president who has made similar speech.
Very eloquent.
Similar speech. So it simply means that the Sultan that decided, that Sir Ahmad Bello, that decided to send him to the center, knew his competences and selected the very best of those around him. That is not the order of events today. People are selecting mediocres to succeed them. People make conscious effort to look for people who do not have all the competence, because they tell you that the people who have the competence are independent-minded and they can't
don't want to
control
come
them.
into politics, perhaps.
If you stretch that to the southeast, when Azikiwe was at the center, he appointed Emma Okpara, Dr. Michael Okpara, as the prime minister, as the premier of the eastern Nigeria. And look at what the Emma Okpara did within a space of 6 years. So you could see that the first set of Nigerian leaders actually had the interests of this country at heart more than the current set of Nigerian leaders.
Now, what do you think is the solution to that leadership question, especially with this current set of leaders? Because just like you said, the leadership of any organization or anywhere sets the pace. You know, as a leader, if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do and my followers are watching me, you know, just like you said, leadership also defines culture. It defines value system. You know, so what kind of solution should we bring to the leadership question that we're having right now in Nigeria, in all facets? Just like you've said it, people in leadership want to put stooges there, perhaps people that will also cover their tracks because they've been allegedly corrupt and all of that. So what should we do? What will solve that leadership question in Nigeria? Okay,
let me tell you what we do in the corporate environment. I may recommend that. It may not be exactly, I may recommend that with some modifications to the political system. In the corporate world, if there's a vacancy, you define the attributes of possible candidates. You define academic qualification, years of experience, and then you also have the soft issues, the value systems that you expect the possible candidate to have. And then you advertise those attributes. And then millions of people will submit their applications. You sieve through the applications and narrow down to a short list of those who have those attributes. And you go through an interview process. Now, if you want to bring that to the political system, can we define in more stringent terms the attributes, the qualification, the caliber of experience, the quality of experience we need for people that will occupy certain sensitive positions in the country? The fact of the matter is that you cannot give what you do not have. You cannot fall from heavens and become a governor and expect that you never presided over a meeting, you have never been involved in a visioning process, you do not even know what they call strategy, and then you come in and become governor, you live by the day. Every day you wake up in the morning, you have your meetings, they tell you all the people that want to meet you, and then the day comes to an end, and the next day, and the next day, and then 4 years passes, you are unable to define a vision for your state. So we must really define, in more stringent terms, the attributes of people who should occupy certain posts. We have that in a very loose format. It must be 30 years or 40 years. The reality is that there is no way in the world where all the people have equal competencies. Even in the Bible, God said they give people different talents. Some 10, some 8, some 7, some 1. So more will be expected of those who have 10 talents. So let's let's define the attributes. If it's not going to be done at the constitutional level, let the parties do them at their own, at the party level. And then the parties will define for you to run for the office of, particularly the executive offices, that requires higher level of competence to administer affairs of the state. We need to do that. If, like I said, if it's not done at the constitutional level, at the minimum, the parties should define those things. So not every dictum and Harry will come and contest for certain sensitive positions.
But the kind of parties we have now, we are seeing less from them.
You see, if a particular party decides to define this and they stick to it, you know what will happen? They will attract that quality of people they are looking for. Because those people will move towards that, because that's where their competencies will be recognized.
You've made very salient points. Even as we move, you said that the attention is shifting away from the economy, and a lot of people are talking about the political side now, the political environment getting a little bit heated day by day. There are still a lot of economic issues. You know, people are suffering, a lot of people are hungry, unemployment numbers rising, youth unemployment. Yesterday I was taking a look at the data, and Nigeria came third in terms of, you know, youth unemployment in the world. I think I tweeted it to my followers, 33.3% youth unemployment, and unemployment rate at 18.8%. We don't have our poverty rate yet. I don't think NBS has released that yet. But the last numbers that we have shows us that it's about 67% thereabout. When in the month of February, the World Poverty Clock report that was released in November, which I actually did talk about, and I looked at poverty 1 week on the show late last year. And I did say, sound a note of warning that, especially for this administration and for all levels of government, local, states, and federal government, that we need to pay attention to making the livelihoods of Nigerians better, because if we are not careful, come February 2018, which is here now, that Nigeria will have the highest number of poor people globally in the world.
Overtake India.
So as it is right now, I think we are the world's poorest, because I don't think anything has been done. So, but we keep on saying things like this, and it seems as if it will go here and come out from here, or it doesn't even enter the ears at all. Or the administration, when I mean administration, not just at all levels, are not paying attention to what is actually happening. What do you think?
You know, that's why I said that my greatest challenge, you know, when we started, you asked me my greatest worry.
Yes.
And I said, look, we have shifted attention from the core economic and social issues and focusing a lot more attention on political issues.
Politics is key.
You see, the basic thing is that when a government is elected into power, they have 4 years to implement their policies. If midstream, they shift their attention from implementing their policies and they are focusing on getting re-elected or who will succeed them, there's a problem. So you lost 50% of the time allotted for that assignment. But the basic fact is this: we have had World Bank Millennium Development Goals.
That's SDGs now.
Yes, we did not implement it. Countries like China implemented their Millennium Development Goals. In fact, what they now distilled it into their national development goals. Yeah. Some of these goals are meant to reduce poverty, improve health, improve quality education and access to education. We just took that global directive or target without any seriousness to it. For that reason, there is no measure of Nigeria's accomplishment in the ranking of the Millennium Development Goals. There is a new set of goals now. Today, nobody is even discussing it. It's not an issue in this country. How do you develop a country? Let's start from infrastructure. There was something I saw a couple of years back where they said this is our railway development plan. I don't know whether you ever saw that thing. On paper, it looks wonderful. They were going to connect all the nodules of this country, particularly the major cities, by rail line. The question you ask yourself, what has happened to it? Are there milestones? What are those milestones? To what extent have we advanced in the achievement of the milestones? Do we have a highway development plan? Have we defined milestones? The key thing is, Nancy, whatever is not measured is never achieved.
Yes, you can't manage whatever is not measured. So
you can't run, which I said, people are just living by the day. And the challenge of living by the day is that you get nowhere.
Do you think that this country will get better?
Yes.
Because sometimes I ask myself, you know, because of doing the show, this economic, business, financial show, for many years now, sometimes in my own little corner, and when I'm ruminating around some issues, I ask myself sometimes, will this nation ever get better than it is right now? Will this nation be better and would achieve some of the things that I see it achieve, or some of the things I say here or my guests say here? And I cannot find an answer, honestly, if this nation will get better, or even if it will get better, will it be in my lifetime?
Well, I think certainly it will get better. Whether it's going to be your lifetime, I can't.
You can't say.
I can't say.
But what we just said now, what you can measure, you cannot manage.
Yes,
you
because
know,
we're really not moving forward. We're really not moving forward. Take the issue of power supply. We've been on 4,000 for how long? God knows how long. We've been on 4,000 for God knows how long. Today, we have come up with a plan to say we are going to have 10,000 by the end of this year. Or next year. Next year. Where are the super transmission grids that we're building? Where are the gas distribution networks we are building? Where are the new power plants? How are we strengthening the distribution companies? Do we have an optimum ownership structure today? What are we doing to strengthen the ownership structure and funding arrangement? What are we doing to improve the current transmission grid? Not to talk of building new transmission lines to wheel out whatever power that we generated subsequently. You cannot talk of 10,000 megawatts if you do not have this defined and detailed to this extent. We say we want to create 15 million jobs by 2020. Which sectors are going to create those jobs?
now,
What are we doing to support those sectors? How many jobs have we created so far?
do you think that the number of jobs that the government says through the ministers have really been created? Have we discussed that
we
before?
discussed that. We discussed that.
Okay, I just remembered now 40 million jobs
Yes.
created between Ngige and Outwogbe.
So the key thing is this. Today, what are we doing to improve the quality of academic instruction in the country, as to prepare Nigerians of the next generation for the world that they will face? These are things that countries that are more serious go through in their planning and their strategy. Today, globally, we're talking of science, STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
Yes.
Which level of education in Nigeria is focusing on that? Because that's where the direction of knowledge is going to. So these things are not going to happen by chance. Success is never a chance event. There's no country that fumbled through and developed. There has to be very serious planning, very serious implementation of plan, monitoring of deviations, correction of deviations, modification of plans before success can be achieved, before development can be a reality. A lot of Nigerians go to Dubai. They've seen the gradual and consistent development of that city. I was in Dubai way before the first rail line ever was constructed. I mean, body rail line was ever constructed. We were there when it was being constructed. Today, it's running. We are still where we are today.
Have you read the book by the ruler of Dubai? My Vision.
I have not. But that's actually how societies are developing. There has to be an articulated vision, which is shared by the society, which is very stringently implemented. Then we will now see progress. The key thing about what we lack today, which is why I share your feeling of hopelessness, is that in other countries where you go to, you come in here, you see there was no highway here. They tell you in 5 years' time from now, because population would have increased to this point, we're going to do another ring road, for instance, in a place like Abuja. If you go to Houston, there are like 4 or 5 ring roads around Houston. And I witnessed 3 of them constructed. Because as the population is expanding, they have mapped that the development will come here in the next 5 years. We expect development will come here in the next 5 years.
I wanted to say that.
So we're going to build another highway so that people can veer off, tee off from their new residences into the highway.
You know, you are talking of US now. If you go to the US now, like in the next 3, 6 months or 1 year or 2 years, you go back to the US, there will be something that as you go back to a city, there's something that has changed.
Absolutely.
It won't still be the same.
And that's actually what happens in any country that is progressing. Today, for the past 10 years, 20 years I've been coming to Abuja, there is no material infrastructure development, apart from the highway to the airport. Not to my knowledge. I mean, we are talking of the metro line in Abuja. It's still under construction. It's been under construction more than 10 years.
What do you think is hindering that infrastructural growth?
You see, that
funding, money?
Said, look, money is never a critical hindrance to a visionary leader. And I'll tell you why. Money that was used to do Dubai, where did it come from? Not from sale of oil. Dubai has minimal oil among the Emirates. They attracted private capital. They created the right economic environment. They created the right legal environment. They made it difficult for people to default on their loans. And they made sure that those laws are enforced. And then they attracted capital from Nigeria, from Russia, from every part of the world. People were buying buildings off plan. They show you a picture.
Yes, and you buy the building.
You from Nigeria will transfer money to somebody in Dubai. You never know, you have never known from Adams. Because one, you know the legal system there is so that the person will not run with your money. That's one. So the government put the legal system in place. The legal system also meant that the guy says he's going to construct, he's going to construct. So that gave citizens of other countries that had no relationship with Dubai to send money to Dubai to buy properties.
There was a property boom some years ago, yeah. And
then they use that money to develop their place. You remember, as the guy is building the properties, property developers move from England to go and set up offices in Dubai. As they are building, remember, dollar has come in. That's what happens. Foreign currency came in. So automatically, the reserve of the state or the emirate improved. And he could give out contracts for highways. He could give out contract for rail lines. The key thing is that you have to create the appropriate economic and social environment.
So we don't have it here. That's what you're saying.
I mean,
we're still growing.
That is not disputable. We don't have it here. And that's why I say, look, our leadership need to give their allegiance. They need to recognize that, look, we are not really making progress. The situation here is actually deteriorating because you see a situation whereby the infrastructure is deteriorating, security is deteriorating, academic standard is deteriorating, health standard is deteriorating. So we really need to ask ourselves critical questions. Where are we going to?
Okay, let's just, the next 2 minutes to wrap up, let's use that to read comments. Obi Nachuk says, the more I think of it, the more hopeless I feel about Nigeria. I am reasonably enlightened, at least I follow your show, so you can imagine how a totally illiterate Nigerian feels. We need qualified, intelligent leaders. That is the only answer. You share Obina's view? Of course, that's what you said earlier.
Absolutely.
Dele says, Nigeria is exhibiting a dangerous fault line embedded in agitations and insecurity that require urgent attention before it degenerates into issue that may lead to eventual destabilization of the country. The reliable solution is still in the adoption of the 2014 Confab recommendations. What other comments? Let's see. The appropriator says, the system has been our bane through all spheres and strata of our political, socio-economic activities. Time to reconfigure from financialism. Okay, just as we draw the curtains today on the show, what are your last words? Are you coming out for any position?
That's because you asked me this before.
No. You can change that. Your decisions can change.
You see, let me
because they say people. Who is the person that actually made that? Who gave that quote? That was it. Benjamin Franklin or one of those. That we shouldn't complain if things are getting wrong. That the good people should also enter politics.
Okay, let me tell you what I've done.
Very quickly.
What I have done is to join in the leadership selection process, not necessarily to be one of the candidates, but to contribute in whatever form that I can to help shape the society's values and for make the society recognize the attributes that they need to look for in the leader. I have been involved in supporting people I believe have the competence to run affairs at different levels of governance. That I can continue to do. But I do not think I have the temperament to offer myself to lead the country in the current, under the current social and political system.